Welcome back to the Smart Girl Politics podcast. It is the Gen X-ish, I can't say that very well, Gen X-ish episode of the week. I'm Terry Christoph, joined by Fingers Malloy. Fingers, how does freedom taste out there in Indiana?
You know something, Terry? Let me tell you a little bit about freedom.
Yes.
Monday, I went to a brand new cigar lounge in Indianapolis called the Havana Cigar Lounge, and it was fantastic. I walked into a bar, and I walked into a huge cigar humidor that was the size of my first studio apartment, and I picked a cigar and I smoked it in public, and there were people around. It was glorious. It reminded me of the olden days, the before times, Terry.
The before.
That's what it yeah.
That is amazing. You are not in Northern Virginia, clearly, which is where I am, and we are the only part of Virginia that isn't allowed to be free. So I have to live vicariously through the rest of you who have some taste of freedom.
Well, listen. Don't you have like secret freedom clubs? Like if you were to walk around in blackface, would you be able to get in somewhere like your governor there in Virginia?
I'm going to try it. I haven't thought about that, but I should try that. Well. This reminds me of something I wanted to tell you. So we're still in, stay at home, whatever, because we're near DC. We're the most populous part of the state, whatever. Our local leaders whine to Northam, we need to stay close. I don't know why. I won't get into it. So as such, we still have to cover up and do these things. And, to go to Costco, you have to have a mask now.
But to be fair, that's corporate policy with Costco. Everywhere. Yeah, sure. You have to wear a mask going to Costco. I'm just using it as a segue so I can tell you what my husband did. Oh.
My husband has, in the recent 6-8 months before, in the olden days, he had taken up medieval martial arts. We have a local, jiu-jitsu studio who offers medieval martial arts, which involves, I don't know, martial arts from the medieval period. And he is so into it that he got the gear that you have to be in, I don't know, fights. Like they actually have clubs and stuff, and they go around.
Are you allowed to talk about medieval martial arts fight club?
You are.
Okay.
It's not a secret. It's not. But he spent a little bit of money to get the full armor, because to be able to be in these events, you have to be in the armor. And there's a guy in Ukraine who makes it, and it's been a whole ordeal, for 4 months getting all the armor. Armor came about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
My husband decided he was going to take the headpiece, which is like a medieval fighter helmet that covers your face and has chainmail, and it weighs like 20 pounds. He wore that into Costco.
Nice.
I luckily was not with him, but he came back and he was so excited about it. I'm like, that is terrifying because it's scary. It's got the big nose piece. It's got it's exactly what you think. But it's worse because it's for fighting and I don't know. He was in he probably had his Adidas slides and white socks and shorts and a t-shirt, and then this medieval headgear thing that covers his face. Nobody knew who it was, but I'm surprised he's not on Reddit. Maybe he is on Reddit and just doesn't know. Because he's anti this. He's definitely this is stupid. Let's get out. This is dumb. But he's got a fair point. But yes. So I apologize to the people of Leesburg who may have been at the Costco over the last weekend that may have seen this scary man walking around. I am surprised that, nobody asked him to leave, but they didn't. Apparently he just, he got his whatever those protein shakes are. He got us a little bit of, I don't know, he just did his shopping and checked out. And I was like, well, what was the reaction? Well, everyone laughed, he said. I'm like, I doubt everybody laughed. I'll bet there's some people who didn't think it was funny at all. Anyway, that is the state of us here in Northern Virginia. We cannot do anything. We cannot reopen. We can't go to the gym. We can't go into the walk-in humidors. We can't do anything.
Oh wow, I feel terrible for you.
You
That
don't.
does suck.
You don't feel terrible.
I but that with freedom comes responsibility, Terry, as you know. And I had to go furniture shopping this week.
That is
So,
sounds beautiful.
uh,
That sounds like the greatest form of liberty and freedom I've ever heard.
is there anything worse than furniture shopping? As far as shopping goes, maybe car shopping
Oh, car
is right
shopping
up
is the
there.
worst.
Car shopping is bad, and furniture shopping is awful too because you're making a significant investment. So you look, some people are they make it very simple. They can just walk into a furniture store and say, "Oh, I'll take one of these, two of these," like our good friend Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack. I'll take one of these. I'll take three of
Yeah,
these.
don't get that. Don't get the
Okay. Well,
reference.
the fine folks who watch Caddyshack 65 times like me will understand that reference. But having said that, I have to go to 10, 12 different furniture stores before I pick something out because I'm always looking for the best deal. You know this about me. So
I
I'm
thought well, I know this is probably not a thing anymore, but haven't you bought furniture from model homes that have closed? I always thought that was fascinating.
that I did one time. I
It's the
my
deal of the
first
century.
yeah, well the first child was born and money was tight, and in central Indiana you have a lot of these builders who they have model homes, and you walk in and they're fully furnished. They make them look fantastic, and when the development is ready to either build new model homes or they're closing out building in that development, they'll have auctions. Well, where they will auction off all the furniture. I bought a mattress set from a builder. I bought a king size mattress and box spring for $250, and it was
Yeah.
a Sealy. So I was like,
Nice.
okay, yeah. So it lasted 6 or 7 years. But for $250, and I'm still using the box spring on my new mattress. But something like that, yeah, I will. If I get a good deal, I will. The only reason why I did it was because it was an auction. But buying, I built a new studio in the back of the house, and it's a sunroom, so I needed I was going to buy a sectional. So I'm going from furniture store to furniture store, and I don't know if you're doing this, Terry, when you go out, if you're allowed to go out.
We're not. There's nothing open.
Well, you go to the store, the grocery store,
Yes, I
right?
do.
I mean, I have my mask on me, and I wear it most of the time, except one time in a furniture store, I was like, there's nobody here. There's no one here. It was 20, 30 minutes before it closed, and the salespeople, we all stood far apart, and I was like, I'm not doing this because it's not comfortable. If it's a nice day out, and we talked about this last week, I think if you wear glasses, you're with these homemade masks, your glasses fog up, and
Hmm.
it's just uncomfortable. So,
And you have to smell your own breath.
oh, who needs that?
It's
You're a
terrible.
cigar smoker and you're drinking beer.
Ugh. It's
Yeah.
not
So,
good.
much of my day on Wednesday was going to furniture stores, wearing a mask, walking around, sitting on furniture, and so don't feel
Oh, that sounds
too
great.
jealous. Oh, okay. You love furniture
You have
shopping, do you?
your furniture. Ugh. If your Marshalls are open there and your TJ Maxx's, I'm gonna freak out.
Well, I got bad news for you.
Are they open?
Yes, they opened this week.
Ah!
Yeah,
I
TJ
went by our
Maxx.
Marshalls and it's so dark. It's just
They just built a. I don't think it's open yet by my house. I guess they come in packs. It seems like a Marshalls and a Burlington Coat Factory. They have to be like right next to each other for some
though.
reason.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So in central Indiana, we've got new locations of Marshalls and Burlington Coat Factory, but I don't know if they've opened yet. But yeah, TJ Maxx made the decision this week that they're opening retail. In a lot of places, I believe this week could open up to 50% capacity. Bars, and this is what is so maddening about this, Terry, is it feels like governors, local officials, they're just spitballing.
Yes.
I don't understand how I can go to a bar and sit down and have a drink at this establishment, and it's okay if it serves food. But bars in central Indiana, They had to wait at least another week if they were a bar that didn't serve food. That beats
Because,
me.
yeah.
I'm sure they'll give you some reason, but really, does it? Why should that matter?
It's nobody knows what they're doing, and I get it. This is a new situation. Mistakes are going to be made. I totally get it. I don't expect everything to go perfectly, but it does seem like it's insane here that the Northern Virginia counties can't reopen. But Maryland, I live really close to Maryland. It's reopening. Like we're gonna take our yuckiness that's keeping us closed, and we're gonna take it to all these open counties. How is that? Like how is
Right.
that? That's not going to prevent anything. It makes no sense. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do think that there's something. And the thing here in Virginia is that Northam, we have off-year elections, so our election cycle will be next year. Northam can't run. You can only do one 4-year term at a time. You can't run. You can run you can't run consecutive. He can't have another term. So he can do all the stupid crap he wants. Obviously, he already has a lot of
I
stupid
have to
crap.
ask
So
you.
he can do this. He can do it. He can run cover for all these idiots in Northern Virginia who think we shouldn't reopen, and that's what he's doing.
Well, let me ask you this. And listen, so when was he elected? In 2016?
He was elected
Oh,
in
not 2016. What,
17,
2018? Okay, okay.
17, because we have these weird
2017.
odd year elections.
So if he could run for re-election in 2021 with everything that has come out about him, do you think that he could win re-election? Do you think that
Yes.
he's been forgiven? That's
Yes.
absolutely amazing.
There are, and who knows about, God knows that polling is not very accurate, but there's been in Washington Post poll and a local college here, Virginia Commonwealth University, did a poll, two separate polls that have like 82% of adults think he's doing a good job for
Wow.
COVID or something like that. And I could be completely getting it's not. It was a significant number who think he's doing a good job.
Well, let me ask you
Now,
this.
I don't know.
Is Washington, D.C. a real hotspot for COVID-19 at this point? We've had spikes in numbers in Indianapolis, Marion County. There are 3 counties in Indiana right now that are kind of on extended lockdown. There's a county that one of the Tyson meat processing plants that had an outbreak. That county, I believe, is in lockdown. One by Chicago, Indianapolis, the county that Indianapolis is in. It's Marion County. They're still you can't
Yeah.
go to um, a, a bar in Indianapolis. So I'm curious, is because there was a big spike in numbers in Indianapolis. Was Washington D.C.? I mean, you're in the burbs there. Is that considered a hot spot?
In my county, it is not. Loudoun County is where I live, so
Hmm.
it's the most western, I would guess, of the yeah, we are the most western of the Northern Virginia counties. And it is not. It is. There's been. I don't have the exact numbers. I think there's been 7,000 cases and maybe 500 to 600 deaths. And of them, the vast majority are over the age of 65. The vast majority have been in nursing and rehab facilities. A vast majority of cases have had underlying conditions, or it's not. There's very few kids that are getting it. Like I put out on social media before. There was the very very early cases in early March and mid March were at a local elementary school, and that's before the kids even about the time the kids stopped going to school. They came out and said that several teachers and administrators got it at this one elementary school, but none of the kids got it. So it's very much an elderly population, and we're a smaller county than almost every other county around us. So they have way more cases in these other counties because their population's so much bigger. But I wouldn't say it's a hot spot. I live in Leesburg, and we have one of the local drive-through COVID testing things. And I walk by it all the time. I go on walks. I've
Hmm.
never seen a car going through there for testing.
Wow. That's
So
what's so frustrating. I mean, we've talked about
it's
this
insane.
several times, the one size fits all kind of approach
The thing
to
that's wrong here, though, so I can vent, is that the localities here are the ones that asked Northam to keep it closed. It's not Northam that said Northern Virginia is staying closed. it was him in response to like my local mayor here in Leesburg and the city councils and the county it's these local people have asked for it, and that's what I don't get. Leesburg doesn't need it. Loudoun does not need it. They all sent a letter to him over this last weekend because tomorrow was going to be the reopening of the phase 1 day for everybody, and they said nope, not Northern Virginia, and not because we're overwhelmed, because we're not. Our facility, and as far as Loudoun County goes. So yeah, I mean, I get it. I think you're right. Like what you're about. I'll let you finish because I rudely interrupted you.
No,
but it's
fine.
not a one size fits all. But these local, and it's all run by Democrats. Let's be honest here. It's all Democrats. And whatever reason, they think we need to stay shut through the 29th of May, at least through the 29th. Who knows what's going to happen? But I'm amazed that the small localities are asking. Leesburg, where I live, is a town of probably 25,000 people. It is the home to, it has to be hundreds of small businesses. We have small little cafes and beer places, and it's all made up of small businesses. We don't really have too many chains here in Leesburg. It's all small businesses. It's all family-owned businesses, and they've been shut for months now, and that's what is driving me insane, is that the local mayor thinks that was a good idea, but we'll still vote for her. I mean, my neighbors will vote for her. They'll just keep voting for her.
It's it just feels like such an easy position to have, at least still for the time being, because so many people will say, well, geez, they're just trying to save lives. They're just trying to protect the people. Well, again, we were sold a bill of goods. When this first started happening and it was sold to us, hey, listen, we're going to shut things down for a couple weeks to make sure that our ICUs weren't overwhelmed, that our healthcare professionals could get the proper PPE that's needed. I think most Americans, even if you were a little hesitant about them doing at least it sounded reasonable. Like, okay, I don't like this, but I understand it. And now we've talked about it on several occasions. They've moved the goalposts, and now it seems like there are plenty of local officials who just want to keep everything shut down until we get a vaccine. It's maddening.
Yes.
And for the people that are fortunate enough to be able to be on unemployment and get that $600 federal supplement. I'm sure that there are some people that really aren't in that big of a hurry to go back to work. But the people who have seen their businesses just destroyed, even those people, politicians don't want to really stick their necks out for those people because they're the bosses.
But
they're the 1%. They frame them as if they're the 1% rich people.
Right.
And so I don't know. This is incredibly frustrating. I just keep hearing story after story of restaurants going out of business. There's a chain here. I don't know if it's a nationwide chain. I believe it's called Stacked Pickle. That restaurant chain just went under. I think Logan's Steakhouse went under.
No, we do have Logan's.
I believe they went under. And these are the kind of stories you hear, and those restaurants are going to sit empty for a long time. It's not like when this thing just opens up that people are going to just start buying restaurants like crazy. I mean, we've talked about this before. What is the new normal going to be? Like I said, I went to this cigar lounge in Indianapolis. It was their grand opening on Monday, and so people were excited to go. And I talked to the manager there, and they said, "Hey, our reservations we're fully booked for Friday and Saturday night. We're very excited about that."
That's awesome.
Yeah, but if it's because I think part of that is it's a new place. But if you're a Logan Steakhouse that's been there for 20 years,
no one's really rip roaring to get back to that. But I mean, maybe there are. What do I know?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. What if you own? I'm assuming these are franchise restaurants. What if you own a Golden Corral? Are people going to say to themselves, man, I cannot
No,
wait?
because it's elderly people. I mean, in general, I'm not trying to to say stereotype it, but there's a certain clientele that likes that, and
It's
that's usually
elderly
older.
people and families.
Yeah,
It's
but with sneeze guards and stuff, like
uh,
I don't know.
yeah, how are you going to do that? I mean, I watch a YouTuber who is a casino YouTuber. He started going back to casinos in Idaho. They're open now, and he described the scene there. Every other machine is shut down. They have people cleaning the machines like crazy, but who's going to go to a casino buffet? And in Las Vegas, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
big deal in Las Vegas. That buffets. Oh, who's got the best buffet? Who's got the best deal? And people go around to these buffets. They're not going to reopen those. And if they
They're
do,
not. But I'm not afraid of buffets. I'll eat at a buffet. Would you?
I was never a big buffet guy to begin with, because I would take my kids love Golden Corral. I would take them there, and finally, the last time I took the kids there, they saw a guy
Oh no.
sneeze in his hand,
Oh no.
not wipe it, and grab a ladle. And they're like,
yeah.
oh, the kids were disgusted. I was like, see, this is why I don't like going here. I mean, the sneeze guard's great on the salad bar and in the food, but the ladles. I mean, we've seen on several occasions over the years. There's a video that seems to resurface every once in a while of a guy at a grocery store walking up to the soup that they serve at a grocery store. Just pick up the ladle and sip right out of the ladle. I'm sure you've seen that video.
I have not. Now I reverse course and say I will not eat at a buffet.
I think it was like at a Trader Joe's or something. And he just walked up. He's like, oh, a little taste of the soup of the day.
No, salad bars may be a thing of the past. Well,
See?
one of the things that I saw as I was scouring the interwebs before, or actually it was a tweet, was a stat about that the number, and I'm going to say it wrong, in February, from February to March, 40% of the people who had a job in February that earned under $40,000 a year, 40% of them in March no longer had a job.
Yeah.
That's insane. That is that's, I think, when we're talking about the people who are adamantly against reopening, that's the kind of thing that's just like, these people are really, really suffering. And we see, I live in a fairly affluent county, but the lines to get food, the amount of pleas that we see from the local services wanting, needing more supplies for the food banks, it's serious. And the lines for them when they're open, it's insane. And this is a fairly rich county that I live in. And I mean, it's crazy to me that there is. I hate hearing you like, I just want to kill people and blah, blah, blah. Well, what about you? I mean, you're very afraid. What? How many people need to starve before you're going to be less afraid? How many people need to lose their job, and you lose your health insurance with your job? And
right.
How are we going to afford the vaccine when it comes if we don't have health insurance to help offset the cost? What does it take for you to be less afraid?
Well, that's the thing that really ticks me off at this whole thing, because you would think that we could unite around a feeling of when are we going to reopen the country, and how can we come up with the best way to reopen the country as soon as possible. Let's work together. And it has become so political that it seems like if you're on the right, you want the country open back up. And if you're on the left, there are many people that are acting as though we cannot open the country up until we have a vaccine. And I never would have dreamed that this would have been political, because, this whole notion that, we're all in this together. We really aren't all in this together, because especially I'm seeing this from the blue checkmark smart set on social media who, I will see them tweet on the weekends that they're sipping jalapeno margaritas at their suburban New York City home, and they got a sweet media gig during the week. And they're the ones screaming, "Don't go out! You're being selfish."
Exactly.
Well, you're getting a paycheck,
Right.
and
Right.
I'm seeing, and people in America who aren't living within 100 miles of New York City, who are being impacted by this in a way and treated as though they are within 100 miles of New York City, where half the cases of these of the virus has popped up. In New York City, that's where it's hardest hit. You're seeing in pockets in other parts of the country, obviously, that are hot spots. But if you're in a rural county in Indiana and you're being treated like New York, and you're sitting around saying we're not being hit like New York, and you're seeing these people screaming, "Well, don't go out, don't go out." Well, their businesses are being destroyed, and you're getting a paycheck sitting at home feeling safe and on a soapbox.
Don't you think it's ultimately for a lot of people? I mean, I think there are people who are scared. I know people who are scared. I don't think it's the vast majority of people that don't want to reopen. I think the left doesn't want to reopen because it's the last gasp, I guess is the word, Trump not being reelected. The worse the economy gets, the worse it is, the harder it's going to be for Trump to get reelected. I mean, obviously, we know that that's why the media doesn't care. The media doesn't care if anyone's going hungry. The media doesn't care if people are losing their jobs. The media cares if Donald Trump gets reelected. So if the economy tanks, that's great for them. That's great. I mean, they don't want to see this guy in office. So it's, to me, like, it's political. It is absolutely political. When somebody tries to push back at me like, "Hey, you want to kill people?" I'm like, no, I actually want people to be alive and to thrive. You just don't want Trump reelected, or you're scared, and I get it. I mean, it's not like you and I are not impacted. We've got elder parents that we don't get to see, and mine at least. My mom is pretty isolated. My dad is no longer with us, and your mother is no longer with us.
Right.
So they're very isolated. We don't, we go over, we can wave at her, do that thing. It's not like there's no, but real life has to come back. This is freaking America. This is not, we can be smart about it. We can do things, but this, there's going to be other spikes. We're going to get it, but we have to do it. This is America. I posted a picture of her on the Smart Girl Facebook page, which is, of course, facebook.com/smartgirlpolitics, of someone holding a sign saying "flatten the curve," and it's showing the unemployment. It's not a curve;
Right.
It's straight up. It's bankruptcy, straight up. It's suicide. It's not
Right.
that's not a joke. That's I myself, I wasn't suicidal, but I had a little bit of a hard week last week after being pretty okay with everything for the first 6 or 7 weeks. It gets to you, and if you don't have a good support system, geez.
I'm telling you, I have talked to people, many people, who were okay the first couple of weeks. And I hang out with and am friends with a lot of introverts who said at the beginning, "Well, this is how I live my life every day." It's getting to them too. It's getting to everyone. And I see these stories where Los Angeles is talking about being on lockdown for another 3 months. And the governor of Michigan saying, "Well, we're not going to have NFL and college football games with fans in the fall." And saying it in a way that it is like, okay, is this based on science? I'm seeing Dr. Fauci had an interview with Peter King, the NFL sports writer, and even he said, "Listen, I can see a scenario if we do things right where sometime during the NFL season we could have fans at NFL games, maybe 25% capacity."
Mm-hmm.
But it's possible. This is so what makes me feel like this is so anti-American is Americans are, for the most part, have always been positive. And if there is a hurdle, we will overcome. We will come together, and we will overcome any obstacle. And there's just this defeatist attitude about this that I'm just not used to seeing. And I just don't know how you can make these decisions 3-4 months out.
Right.
Things have changed in the last couple of weeks. Now there's a big a huge event in Michigan every year. There's a walk across the Mackinac Bridge. And I believe that's in September. I think it's Labor Day weekend. They canceled it already. So we can't do it because of COVID-19 concerns. Now, if you tell me, listen, we're canceling it because we can't get sponsors. It's the sponsorship money's dried up. Okay, I get that. But you're telling me in May, if your decision is based on we're worried about the numbers in September, about the virus spreading in an outdoor walk across a bridge, you lose me.
Well, and it's not like Michigan's being all that good anyway. If you look at those maps where they, track your cell phone or whatever and say who's staying home and who's not, Michigan is not staying home as a state. It's not even pockets of the state. It's like, I don't know if they're the most recent map that I saw, and it was this morning, and I think it was data from yesterday. The little mitten is all filled in. It's just all, nobody's staying home.
And it's only going to get worse as the weather gets nicer, right? We're getting 80-degree days. People are not going to sit around and say, I'm going to lock myself in my home. They're going to start moving. And
of course, and they're going to move. Like Maryland is reopening 50%. Maryland is, it's a 15-minute drive for me. We're going to go to the beaches and mountains of Maryland. We're going to take our nasty Northern Virginia germs with us. It's just all it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense.
No, it doesn't. And I am looking forward to the fall. You know me, I'm a big NFL fan. And because
your teams are always at the top.
Oh yeah,
always.
Yeah, the
just
Detroit
they're only slightly, just a little bit worse than the Redskins, but always our teams are like, whoa, so great,
awful. But how the NFL has done everything it can to try to make normal this awful situation, and they had their draft, and people were saying, well, you shouldn't have the NFL draft. Once they did it, I think, the ratings showed that people were really ready to have something.
Hell to the yes.
Yes. And they released their schedule. The only thing they've changed for the fall is they said, okay, we aren't doing the international games. We're not playing in London. We're not playing in Mexico City this year. We're just going to focus on games in the United States. And they may be in front of empty stadiums. Well, I don't know how you can proceed when California – you've got the San Francisco 49ers in California, and you've got the Los Angeles Rams and the Los Angeles Chargers. If you've got a governor saying, well, laughing 3 weeks ago at the idea of NFL games in the fall, well, how can you laugh at that? How do you know for sure? I mean, listen, I'm not a conspiracy guy, and I hate the fact that we have to keep saying I'm not a conspiracy person. But many of the models, the projections, have been wrong from the very beginning. And yet we continue to go down this path in certain states where they're just shutting everything down. And they're basically saying, don't expect anything to be a new normal for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. And I don't think the American people are going to put up with this. I really don't.
Oh, you see it all over the place. I am seeing more and more people out. You can't stop it. It's beautiful weather, and people want to be out, and they want to gather with people, and it's falling apart. It's falling apart here. So,
well, then you're seeing local officials just feeding their inner.
What's going on in your neighborhood?
Oh, I don't know.
Drag racing?
Drag racing. We got nature. I apologize for the background noise, but I was out here, smoking a cigar and having an adult beverage during the recording of this podcast. So, but you're having local officials wanting to clamp down on silly stuff. Like, you've seen videos repeatedly on social media of drive-by celebrations for birthdays. And you've got local officials in California wanting to ban that. It's like, okay, what?
No fun.
Right.
No fun anymore.
Out of control.
Didn't the libs used to be the party of fun, free love? Woo! What
No.
happened? They're no fun anymore.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, I totally forgot to mention at the top of the show, Fingers Malloy, that BetterHelp.com is our sponsor again this week. So I apologize for that. But I will say I had a very rough week last week. It gets to you. I mean, it just gets to you not being able to go do some of those things that really help you clear your mind. And I was never happier than last week to have BetterHelp as a sponsor for us. And I'm sure, like you were mentioning, people that are naturally introverted that should just be taking to this, like, like this is second nature to be able to stay home. But I think we're 6, 7, 8 weeks into it, and it's starting to really affect people. And it's not like we all came into it in great spirit. Like they're, coming off of winter and all sorts of things. The problems haven't gone away just because we're at home, and a lot of them are amplified because we're at home. So that's why I think I'm very excited that we have BetterHelp. I think it is the thing for right now for a lot of people. And I know last week I was like, thank God that there are services like this, because when you're feeling low, your family, my family's supportive, but they're kind of, you need somebody that's kind of that impartial third person that can, give you the view that they don't have the emotions and the tie-in. So, BetterHelp is pretty awesome. We've told our audience about it before, but of course, we just, as a good reminder, they are a telemedicine kind of thing where you can connect with them on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer, or even just, if you just want to talk, you don't want to video with them, FaceTime, it's whatever you want. And they have professionals that are licensed, and they have experience in a ton of different areas: depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, sleeping. Now, I will say I have heard from a lot of people who are having trouble sleeping during the coronavirus, which is interesting. I haven't really had a problem with that. I've actually been sleeping quite a bit. But I know a lot of people who, they don't particularly have anything that they're stressed about, but they're having a hard time sleeping. So that's definitely something that BetterHelp and their licensed therapists can help with. But, there's just a lot of things that either you had going into this or have just been exploded because you're in this situation. And knowing that BetterHelp is there is really, really cool. Of course, everything you share is confidential, it's convenient, it's professional, and it's affordable. You can go over to their website and see testimonials from people. And I can't stress this enough. If you need help, there is help out there. Something like BetterHelp.com. There's nothing to be ashamed of. If you need help, go ahead and grab it. And of course, a little discount in these days doesn't hurt, and we can help you start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting BetterHelp.com/SmartGirl, and that's BetterHelp, HELP. And you can join over 800,000 people who are taking charge of their mental health. And I really encourage you to do that. It's no fun suffering. You don't need to suffer. You can get help. Go to BetterHelp, HELP.com/SmartGirl. Get that discount. Get talking to someone. Find the counselor that can, help you, because it's not going to last forever, this lockdown, but some of these things the lasting effects might be there. So kind of see if you can head that off and take care of it right now and get some help. I mean, I think it's a great little tool to have right now. Fingers, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. Between individual counseling, one thing that people aren't really talking about too much, they aren't talking about is maybe couples are struggling if you're in lockdown.
It's a challenge.
BetterHelp provides counseling for couples. And another thing that they do, if you have a teen who needs to talk to someone, it can be very difficult for an adult to go talk to a therapist in an office. It can be very intimidating. Try to get a teen to do that. That can be difficult. Sure. So they provide counseling for teens. So BetterHelp.com, it's a great service, and people need to check it out.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because of all I'm sheltering with one husband and 3 children. One of my children is on her own, so she's not with us. But I have a 19-year-old, and she's not having issues, but she's definitely the one who's feeling it the most. She feels like her youth is slipping away. She didn't get to finish her sophomore year in college, and she, I don't know if I can't remember if we went over this on the podcast, but she was in Ireland on her spring break when all this shutting borders and all that happened, and we had to race to get her out before, things were shutting, and So she's feeling like it's just been very bad timing for her. She was also going to do a study abroad for her junior year in the fall in London. Canceled.
Oh,
and
boy.
You can't do it, when you're in college. There's not every semester is a semester that you can study abroad, so she may never be able to get to do it. So these are not, things that end the world, but when you're 19, they seem pretty crappy. So it is interesting that the teenagers, they kids can rally with a lot, they can deal with a lot, but they have their limits too. So that's a good reminder that BetterHelp with the HELP is a good option for them too. And like my daughter would never talk to anyone face to face, but she'd probably talk to somebody on the phone. So good stuff. People should check it out. Should we stop talking about Corona?
Yes.
Let's talk about the 80s. So I came across a story on avclub.com because I'm always looking at that. I'm not really sure what it is, but I found the story about how there is kind of like a vault that has hundreds of hours of 80s era MTV when it was all about the Music Man. So apparently, according to the story, a benevolent Internet Archive user, and I'm not really sure what the Internet Archive is, but I'm assuming it's an archive of a bunch of stuff on the Internet, spent hours unloading, and I haven't gone over to look at this, but uploading hours of MTV. So the story goes on to talk about how, in the early days, MTV was all about the music, but then it kind of, in the early 90s, it turned towards reality TV, where it was The Real World and Road Rules and all that, which were okay, but now it's all... can't even tell you the last time I turned on MTV, but it's, it's so fake and awful, and obviously I'm way too old to watch that crap. But yeah, so like the videos, we can have we can relive our youth. Not that you'd find it on YouTube. You could probably find a lot of that, but it's kind of cool that somebody took the time. You can see all the original VJs, Martha Quinn, JJ Jackson, Mark Goodman, Nina Blackwood, and Alan Hunter, who, by the way, most of them are also on 80s on 8 on Sirius XM. So, you can relive your youth through them. But so there's, the article mentions some things like MTV New Year's Rock and Roll Ball. I don't really remember that, but I do remember Headbangers Ball, and I guess there was a Headbangers Halloween special from 1989, which I definitely did not watch.
Well, I think you need to go back and watch it.
Who was that guy? Who was the guy that had the Headbangers Ball?
They had Matt Pinford later, and then it was Curry was his last name, wasn't it? No, Ricky Rackman. Oh, Ricky Ratton, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, but the guy who started it, now you're going to make me look this up. He wasn't a good fit.
Adam Curry started it?
Yeah.
Adam Curry is one of the best. If you listen to Joe Rogan, he's one of the best guests I've ever heard on Joe Rogan, because he's like one of those guys that was, really into the internet when it first came out, and really kind of like innovated and was ahead of the game on, starting your own thing rather than trying to get a show on the network, like to start. It's really a really good show.
I'll have to take your word for it.
You can listen to it. Trust me. You can find it on YouTube.
It was actually briefly hosted by Kevin Seal.
No clue who that is.
I vaguely remember Kevin Seal, and then Adam Curry took over before Ricky Rackman. Yeah, you're right. I thought didn't Matt Pinford?
I think so, but I think that might have been well into the 90s, right?
Yes. And maybe they even changed the name by then. Am I getting his name right, Matt Pinford?
Oh, yeah. Bald?
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Or was he the host of, do you remember 100 Minutes?
No. I think I stopped watching MTV, and then, I did watch the early seasons of Real World and Road Rules, and then, how weird life gets sometimes, that we eventually got to know Rachel.
120 minutes.
Rachel Campos Duffy, who was on the third season of Real World when it was in San Francisco with Puck. And I'm blanking on his name. Who's the guy that he had AIDS? I can picture his face. So we've been friendly with her, which is kind of weird, right?
Yes, Matt Pinfield. And it was 120 minutes, not 100 minutes. 120
minutes of what?
It was on MTV, and then went to MTV2. And then it was 120 minutes. 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 And
Oh,
it was
cool.
music videos for alternative rock and indie artists. Because let's face it, Headbangers Ball, I mean, the whole metal scene kind of died when alternative rock became
Yeah, well, that's
popular.
true. Yeah.
So that was probably the end of Headbangers Ball. And then, Matt Pinfield was his name,
Whatever.
the
What
bald
happened to
guy.
him?
I'm sure he's still doing some sort of
Does he
rock and
look,
roll VJing or DJing somewhere.
in my mind, he looks remarkably like someone that lives in your area that is
Oh,
bald, that um, has been in the movement, was part of our
yes.
gang back in the day. I sort of think of them as being similar.
Well, Matt Pinfield is a DJ on Sirius XM, apparently, on the Lithium channel from 7
Oh,
a.m. to 1 p.m. So there you go.
I've never heard him on Lithium. That's weird.
I've heard him every once in a while. They'll have setups for certain songs during the day, and I've heard his voice because he's got a very distinctive voice.
Do you remember when they ran a contest for people to become a VJ and that
Yes,
Jesse Camp dude won?
I
Do you
don't
remember
remember.
him?
Oh, was he? Did he have kind of really wild hair?
Wild
And
hair, and he was like not with it at all.
yeah,
Like he was in
yeah.
another dimension. And oh man, yeah, that was funny. I'm trying to remember other VJs who were like, that was terrible. My
Yeah.
brain is no good. I didn't watch it a lot. There is MTV Classic now that we have on Verizon Fios,
Mhm.
but I don't know. They play three videos in a row and then like 5 minutes of commercials. So it's not really like the olden days. But yeah, MTV was the thing. But before MTV, in between Super TV and then MTV, when we got MTV, Friday Night Videos was the place to catch your videos. I don't know if you ever were a Friday Night Videos
Oh, there
person.
were three shows you could watch. One was Friday Night Videos on NBC, if I remember
Oh,
correctly.
yes, you're right. Yep, yep.
And then because you didn't have cable, you probably didn't know about. And I don't remember what show was on what network, but TBS and USA Network, they both had video shows. One was called Night Flight, and
Really?
one was, oh, what was the other one called? There was Night Flight and then Night something else. I can't remember. But TBS and USA Network both had video shows of their own. That it was just music videos, and it was great.
Well, I wasn't privileged like you. I was stuck with Friday Night Videos, which I
Oh,
recall never ever played
Night
the entire
Tracks,
video. Well, Night Track sounds familiar.
Night Tracks. Yeah.
That
Oh
sounds
my.
like some cheesy like radio show. Like, hey,
Well,
call in your requests.
it was cheesy, but yeah, USA Network and TBS, they both had their little video shows, and it was you know midnight on a Saturday night, that kind of thing. So yeah,
Those
I
old
miss
days.
I miss that so much, the music video era. I mean, because you see music videos today and they aren't what they were in the 80s, and most of
They
it
were
is
works of
just
art.
maybe
They were movies. They were mini movies.
yes.
They told a
That's
story. But I did find an article which I sent to you that had 20 music videos that defined the 80s. So I thought, why not share some opinions about these videos if we even remember them? Are you game for that? Are you
Oh,
down for that?
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to start it off then with number 20, which is Paula Abdul, Opposites Attract. And if you don't remember it, she shared screen time with a cartoon cat named MC Scat Cat. I
Oh, good
do
lord.
remember it, and I don't know how it made this list because I remember it being widely mocked because of DJ Scat Cat or MC Cat Scat.
Well,
Do
it
you
was a
know the
big
video?
deal. Yes, it was kind of a groundbreaking video because she was performing and dancing with a cartoon
Yeah, but
cat.
didn't like Gene Kelly do that years ago? I'm
But
sorry.
not on MTV.
No, but he danced with like Tom of Tom and Jerry or something, didn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah, I
Look
think
how
you're
old
right.
we are.
But you know how it is.
Well,
It
she
happens
was the
today.
bee's knees in like 1989. That's for sure.
But it happens today where something will happen and the media will jump on. It's like, this has never been done before. It's unprecedented. And you're like, well, really? It actually 20 years ago, things happened
Right.
before the year 2000, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
millennials.
yeah. Oh, don't get me started.
Mwah.
So, yes, you're right. It had happened previously, but not on MTV. And so there you had
All
Paula
right.
Abdul dancing with a cartoon cat.
I'm surprised she made it in the top 20.
Mm,
What do you think about 19?
I think that was one of the first big music videos, wasn't it? I
Oh,
mean,
81 is pretty early on. I don't remember exactly when MTV started, but it probably was like 81-ish, right? It's terrible that I don't know that.
MTV started a little bit later than that, didn't it? I thought it
Maybe,
was
but
more like
why did she have a
80.
video? And we all saw it, right? Because we're talking, of course, about Olivia Newton-John's physical, because this was an extreme departure from her previous image of, being
You know,
quite
you're right.
sweet.
August 1st, 1981.
Okay, so that makes sense that she made
MTV
a video
launched.
because it was everywhere. I mean,
Oh,
I didn't have MTV in 1981, but I remember the physical video.
well, and that song, that it felt
So
like it was
good.
everywhere.
Oh
I
God,
mean,
what
you
a terrible
couldn't.
song! 81. What were we thinking?
Well, when did Grease come out?
78. But she did
So,
Xanadu. Like I'm not much of a fan of hers, but not because I don't like her. Just it's just not my thing. But
well, she was pretty hot back then.
she's
I mean,
in
she's
that video.
probably
Was
still hot,
so
but you know.
dumb though. That video was so stupid. Like her working out gear and like hot guys, but not hot anymore because what we wore to work out in like 1980s was terrible. So awful. Yeah.
Well, we are maybe romanticizing music videos a little bit. I mean, you mentioned that they had a story and everything. The early music videos
Had
really,
sex.
well, they really didn't
Flaming
have much of a
sex.
story because they were all so new. So some of them were rather silly, and this one was silly. But I
But it
mean,
changed your opinion of her.
Olivia Newton-John dancing around in tights. You can't go wrong with that.
Oh, she looks pretty hot in the still that's on there. I've 18 Police, Every Breath You Take. I mean, I remember it. It's black and white, and they're all sort of, in shadows and
Oh,
side views, and
but did you feel like Sting was singing to you in that video?
never once did I think that.
Oh yeah,
I'd
no,
like
that
to
was
be a bigger Police fan than I am, but I'm just not, and I don't know why.
well, the Police. It's one of those bands from the '80s. I'm really surprised I didn't have any of their albums. Like I look back now, and a Police song comes on, I'll say, "Oh, I like that song," and "Oh, I like that song," and I'll say that 8 or 10 times. But I never had a Police album, so
Mm.
yeah, I liked Every Breath You
My
Take.
husband he has a lot of their albums, and so we'll hear like obscure stuff. He's like, "Don't touch the dial," or I don't mean there's no dials, but you know what I mean. Don't
Right.
turn the station. He loves the Police, but not enough. I don't think like drastically. Like something that got canceled. Fun fact is apparently Sting has written a play or a
Oh.
musical or something, and it was going to play here in D.C., but it had to get canceled because it was going to be March into April. So I
Yeah.
missed my chance to get up close with Sting, which is
Oh.
fine. I'm fine with that. I'm fine, but I would
Every
get
Breath
up
You
close.
Take was one of my go-to karaoke songs back in the day.
Really,
Back
we
in the
all
day.
know what it is now, but maybe it's. Haven't even checked to see if your actual literal go-to song is in. Is
The
it in the
top
top
20.
10? No, I don't know.
No.
But Billy Idol is someone I would get up close and personal with because he is number 17 with White Wedding. When I think Billy Idol, I think more Rebel Yell. I don't know
Mhm.
why. Or Dancing with Myself. But apparently this is the video that is epic enough to make the top 20. I don't know. I remember that the girl, he puts like a spiky ring
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
and she bleeds. That's what I remember from that video.
Yeah, I love Billy Idol.
But
There's so many good Billy Idol songs.
Bill's great.
Oh, Bill? You call him Bill now?
Bill.
Oh.
It's funny though that like he's trying to he's like in his 60s now and he's trying to keep the spiky hair. It's kind of funny. I think I respect that he's not, that he's like, this is my look and I'm sticking with it until I die. Like, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to veer from this. Like, I think I respect that.
Yeah. He's like, I know I'm getting older, but this is who I am. I'm Billy freaking Idol. This is how I look. I've got a lot of respect for him, and so many great songs. You know, you mentioned White Wedding, and he did a really cool remake of L.A. Woman by The Doors when he was supposed to have a larger role in the Doors film, but then he was either in a motorcycle accident or a car accident, and it cut his role in that film quite significantly. But yeah, I would go see Billy Idol in concert to this day.
Well, yeah, he could probably really go. He probably goes to intimate venues, which of course are a thing of the past. We're never having those again. There's never going to be a concert again. But yeah, he was a great concert in '87. Me and my friend Denise went. Woo! It was great. Now, number 16. I tell my 19-year-old daughter about this all the time because she can't seem to get why anybody would like Tom Petty. I'm like, you got to watch this video. You got to watch this video. And that would be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Don't Come Around Here No More. That is one of that deserves to be on the list because if you remember, it had the sort of Alice in Wonderland theme, and at the very end, she's a cake, like that they're cutting pieces out of and eating. Like I'm like, you've got to see it. You're gonna love Tom Petty after this because she does not appreciate any Tom Petty music. I'm like, this video, I probably wouldn't make her like him, but I liked it. I thought it was great.
Top 3 concerts in my life, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. You saw Tom
Petty?
Yes. When? Saw him in 2003 in Central Indiana at Deer Creek Music Theater, I think it was called back then. Now it's got some corporate name. But fantastic show. You know how you will see some artists like a Dave Matthews Band or, this happened with me at the Black Crowes where they will play every song that you don't want to hear instead of, hey, play your hits, please. Play the songs that we all know. Tom Petty, it was 2.5 hours, all of his hits, everything you wanted to hear. I'm not even sure he took a break. I think it was 2.5 hours straight, and he was fantastic. And the year he died, he was at the Music Theater here in early May, and I thought, I want to go see him, but it's a weeknight show. I'll see him next year. And of course, he's no longer with us.
That was unfortunate because he was not. He had some years left in him.
Yeah, that
was a great video. That's a good video. And Last Dance with whatever that song is.
Mary Jane.
Yeah, that one's. I tell her you got to see that one too. That's a good one.
He has so many good music videos. Free Fallin' is good.
Yep.
In the 80s, he was one of the guys that really embraced music videos, and in the 90s, and. You Don't Know How It Feels to Be Me, where he's just going, or he's like in the middle of a circus, and he's on a revolving stage, and he's got all these circus acts in the background. Just good music, and that's just a damn shame that he's no longer with us.
He's definitely one that I find as I get older, I hate the music now. I tell it to my kids all the time. I blame you. You guys have your generation's ruined everything. But their music is terrible. I think we can all agree that the music today is just utter crap. So I find myself revisiting and appreciating artists from my youth and farther back, like 70s, like when I was really young, before I really had any taste in music and just had to listen to what my older siblings listened to. So now I find myself going back, and Tom Petty's one of them, like that I have a renewed appreciation, especially when you compare that music to what comes out now, like everything's Selena Gomez and whatever. It's just so terrible. The music is terrible. So I'm going back, and he's definitely one where I'm like, I didn't appreciate it at the time, but that was good. And Traveling Wilburys, that was good. We like ourselves a little bit of Roy Orbison and George Harrison.
Yeah, that's another one too that I have learned to appreciate more as I've gotten older. I like the Traveling Wilburys hits, when I was younger. But and Roy Orbison died, I believe, during the recording of the second album. Like I think they got the full second album in, if I'm not mistaken. And
I
then
don't
I
know,
think
but
they
I know he
recorded.
died in '88 because I remember him
Yeah.
dying while I was writing a term paper in college. Thank
Mm,
you.
yeah, End of the Line is a video where they're on a train together,
Yes, I do.
and
I know that one. Yeah.
they have a empty rocking chair for Roy Orbison
Aww.
because he had passed away,
And
and
he
then
was young too. He wasn't even that old. He was like in his 50s.
yeah, but he had heart issues,
And he
and
was an albino.
was he?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was an albino. He had albinism.
Oh, well, he was pushing himself too hard because his career kind of had a resurgence with the Traveling
Yeah.
Wilburys, so he was trying to make that money, and he was, I believe, touring in
I
Europe.
think you're right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he pushed himself a little too hard, and he passed away. It's just a
Aw,
shame.
that is too bad. But definitely, yeah, worth revisiting some of those bands because there ain't nothing to listen to except for the old stuff, in my humble opinion. Now, number 15, I would have thought would be higher on the list because it's pretty epically 1980s videos. Dire Straits' Money for Nothing. Sting, of course, makes an appearance in the song. Money for nothing, get your chicks for free. That was a great one. Wasn't that like a kind of a knock on MTV, though? Like, look at them yo-yos. That's the way you do it. It's kind of a
Yeah,
knock on MTV, but it was huge on MTV at the same time.
yeah, and I remember Sting telling a story. He went to record that with and his wife came along with them, and they left the recording studio, and he turned to her and he's like, I don't know, what did you think of that? And she's like, oh my gosh, it's going to be huge.
Really?
It's going to be huge. Yeah, and it was huge. Dire Straits is another really cool band.
Yes. They're one I need to revisit. My husband's a huge Dire Straits fan.
Yeah, I could see where that's a band where people need to, if you're going to pick some 80s music that doesn't suck, Dire Straits is a band that you need to check out.
I agree. 14, I'm sort of ambivalent about. Run DMC and Aerosmith Walk This Way. It definitely brought Aerosmith back because I know Aerosmith was a 70s thing and then they were a nothing thing and then they became a thing again because of Run DMC.
And they really brought back, Run DMC brought back Aerosmith. Aerosmith was left for dead. I mean, people
I
just
just
weren't
don't
into
remember
Aerosmith
the
anymore.
video that much, though. I mean, I remember the song. I can remember walking across campus and hearing songs blaring out of dormitories. It was huge. The video, I kind of know that Run DMC's on stage and Aerosmith maybe comes out. The video
Yeah.
does not stick out to me as being as popular as the song definitely
Oh,
was.
the video was huge.
Was it?
Yeah, you're just not remembering. Yeah, they're sharing. They share a wall, like Aerosmith,
That's okay. Okay.
and
Okay.
then Steven Tyler breaks through the wall and
Okay.
starts
Okay. I remember
singing
that.
the chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that started like Aerosmith being a huge thing
Right.
again.
So we can blame
Yeah, thanks.
Run DMC for
Nothing.
that.
Yeah, I'm not much of an Aerosmith
Oh,
fan.
I liked early Aerosmith, the
Yeah,
older
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
God, the
Dream
ballads are
on,
just terrible. These the '90s ballads. Oh jeez.
crying
Oh
since
good
I
Lord,
left
stop.
you. I'm crying. No, it's yeah. I agree. I agree. It's terrible.
Give me the Toxic Twins. Give me old Aerosmith. I don't like the clean and sober power ballad Aerosmith.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I don't.
Not that I encourage drug use, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I definitely they changed. Let's just put it
Yeah.
that way. At 13, I have absolutely. I'm going to let you take it because I have nothing to say. I've never seen the video. I don't know the.
Straight out of Compton, NWA. Yeah, when
What does NWA stand for? Never mind. I do know that.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
This
I'm not
is a
gonna get-
my I like I
Oh.
told on a previous episode. I sort of started tuning out in the late 80s because I just didn't care for the music.
That's when white suburban kids started to embrace rap. So NWA was huge, and this was their breakout music video, straight out of Compton.
Okay.
Oh,
I don't know this. I'm terribly out of touch because I don't. Maybe.
well,
if
I know you're
heard
not
it-
out of touch with number 12.
No. Well, I mean, I'm not a huge Cyndi Lauper fan, but Girls Just Want to Have Fun was definitely one of the early videos that was, this is fun. This video thing is fun. And then I guess this introduced me to the world of wrestling with Captain Lou Albano. I mean, because I grew up in a household full of, I had one brother, but he was not into it. But there were 7 girls and one. Wrestling was not in my it didn't happen. So this was probably my introduction. I probably knew that it existed, but this was my first actual seeing of a wrestler. And
Captain
that's all
Lou
I know.
Albano was he was at that point he was a wrestling manager, and it created the Rock and Roll Wrestling Connection.
Don't know a thing.
Yeah, Cyndi
Did he
Lauper.
have rubber bands in his beard or
Yes.
something? Okay, all
Rubber
right.
bands in his beard and
Okay.
his maybe even in his cheek. I can't remember. But yeah, Wendy Richter was the WWF Women's Champion, and so they tied Wendy Richter to Cyndi Lauper's hip, and it was a thing for a couple of years.
Right, because then Cyndi Lauper would do like WWF events,
Yes.
right? Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a great song. I don't love it. I don't crank it up every time I hear it, but it's definitely one of those ones that's very epically 1980s, and that song and the video too. You gotta look at her wacky style.
Oh, she was just going. At that point, it felt like there were factions of people. Either you were. It seemed like
Oh yes.
female friends were you either loved Madonna or you loved Cyndi Lauper, or I had friends that either liked Michael Jackson or you liked Prince, or it was that.
I remember reading a Time
Fine.
magazine article because back in the day, my parents subscribed to every freaking magazine because they weren't as awful as they are now, or actually existed. They don't exist anymore. I remember reading a Time magazine article about it was comparing and contrasting Cyndi Lauper versus Madonna. It was probably like 84-ish, maybe 85, but it talked about how Cyndi Lauper was going to have the long career because she was far better with the vocals, and she was a much better singer with a better range and a better experience as a singer, and Madonna had very thin voice and just was terrible with no range, and that Cyndi Lauper was by far going to have the bigger career. But I would say that's probably how it turned out.
Well, she didn't reinvent herself like Madonna. It felt like every other year Madonna had a new look and she was reinventing herself, and Cyndi Lauper didn't really do that from what I remember.
No, she's still kind of just the same wacky chick, but she's done something where her skin is just amazing. Like Cyndi has figured out the secret to keeping your skin looking good, and I am in awe of it.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear she promotes a prescription drug for some sort of skin
Yeah, she
condition.
does. She does.
And I was surprised. I think I looked her up and she was in her mid 60s. I was like, wow, I can't believe.
Isn't that crazy? When you look up and you're like, damn, they were old in the 80s. Like, what?
Right?
What's going on? And I did know that she was, a little bit older.
Now I'm going to have to look. I want to make sure I get that right. I don't want to.
I'm sure she is. I mean, Madonna's 61, and I'm sure that Cyndi Lauper's older than Madonna. And I only know that because I saw an article on Daily Mail today that said Madonna, 61, so that's why I know.
Cyndi Lauper in June will be 67 years old.
Yeah. So.
Wow. She doesn't look it. God bless her.
I guess she wasn't that old in the 80s. Just older than, I thought. Like, the Cars are the same way. When I looked up, I've been getting back into these older bands recently because the music today sucks. If I didn't say that before, it's terrible. And those guys were, in their 40s and, the mid 80s. They were old. Like, Rick Ocasek, when he died, he was, 76 or something. Like, what the hell age was he when I saw him in 84? Like, damn, they were older than I thought. So, they were also, in the 70s, too. So, whatever. But number 11, warms my heart. It just warms my heart. Which should be number 1, honestly, I think, if we're all being honest. But Duran Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf, which does tell a story. I know way too much about their music videos, and I know that Russell Mulcahy was the director of their videos back in the day.
Wow.
And they were such a visual band that you had to put them in videos, and this one, they're all over Sri Lanka and through forest, and Simon Le
I'll take your word
Bon.
for it. I wasn't a Duran.
Simon Le Bon.
I was not I was not a big fan of Duran Duran, so looking back now, if a Duran Duran song comes on, I'll listen to it and enjoy it. But back then, I was like, "Oh, this is crap." As you get older, you revisit stuff.
Huge.
But he was Duran Duran fans were for the most part in the 80s women and teenage girls. So what you didn't see a lot of guys in mullets in the 80s wearing Duran Duran t-shirts.
Oh, I mean, if you want to have a good time, like just to watch a crowd, see Duran Duran now. My daughters took me 4 years ago. On my birthday, Duran Duran was in DC. So my daughters bought me tickets and it was fun. We had a good time. But just to watch the women, the 50-year-old women that are out on the town, away from the family, and they are going to dress up as their best 80s version of themselves, and they're going to drink all the wine before they go. It's hilarious. It's quite a scene to see. And I'm sure Duran Duran's like, oh dear God, why do we have to still do this? But hey, we made them what they were.
I think that listen, I often wonder, you see someone like Jimmy Buffett, he's got to be darn near 70 at this point.
Oh, I bet he's older.
Probably. And you wonder, okay, is he sick of singing Margaritaville? Like, does he ever get tired of it? No, yeah. I would think if you could still bring in 25, 30,000 people to listen to your songs, I don't know if these guys get sick of it. Do they?
No. You can't.
I would think that
to get up on stage and have people adore you, that's you gotta love that. That can't get old, right?
Oh, I wouldn't think.
Now, 10 is obvious. I think it's pretty epic. It's Genesis Land of Confusion. Do you remember it?
Oh, that was a great video.
With the puppets, and it had like Ron and Nancy and Beth. Yeah, it was. I knew that it was some political statement. I didn't really care. Still don't know what the political statement was, but when you're like 16, you're like, who the hell cares?
Right.
But it was pretty epic. The little still that they have there is funny.
Yeah, you talking about some bands, Genesis had been around for a while, at that point, we're looking at what year was that? 1986. Some bands, you talked about Cyndi Lauper earlier. You'd watch her and you wouldn't think that she was older. She still looked younger, and not that, mid-30s is old, but, when you're, a teenager, mid-30s is old.
Yes.
But,
yes,
so
is.
You looked at her and you didn't think much. You probably thought, oh, she's in her 20s. But then, like you said in previous shows, you would see a Cars video, and Rick Ocasek looked old back in the 80s. And the same thing with Phil Collins. Phil Collins looked like he was
55 when this song came out.
Right? It sure feels that way. They were another band that was like that.
Yeah. He was a thing, though. He was he was a thing in the 80s.
Yeah.
9 I'm disappointed in. I wouldn't think that Raspberry Beret by Prince is, I don't know, is that his best? 1999 was great. I thought that was a good video.
Yeah, it was visually impressive, but listen, I love Raspberry Beret. I'm a huge Prince fan. I think that this is relatively new. Sirius XM just launched the Prince channel.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I hopped in my car the other day flipping channels. I was like, oh my gosh, they've got the Prince channel. And so I just kept that on the whole time. I love Prince. I like this song, but I wouldn't count this in my top 5 Prince songs or videos. I mean, just the videos from Purple Rain alone. Some of them were obviously from clips from the movie, but there were so many other videos I would have picked by Prince besides this, but I get it because, like I said, it was different, but I don't know if that stands out as one of his best.
Not really. I mean, I remember it, but I wouldn't expect anyone else to remember it. I mean, I know I watched it, but
yeah.
They're kind of getting worse. Like 8, Madonna, Like a Prayer. I mean, yeah, I remember it. It was, somewhat not Catholic-y, maybe a little bit. Oh wow! Naturally, everybody was outraged. And Pepsi executive, yeah, Burning Cross, the Stigmata, Seduction of a. I don't.
Oh yeah, that was huge. She had just gotten this Pepsi. She just signed a deal with Pepsi, and it felt like this video came out a week or two later. It was. It was almost like, okay, we're going to do what we can to have controversy, and she has, she's probably loaded at that point. I mean, we're talking 1989. She probably had all the money in the world at that point.
Yeah.
So she didn't. So it was always about keeping Madonna's name in the news. So this video was really controversial, and yes, she lost her Pepsi sponsorship from it.
I don't remember that, but I would have thought that Like a Virgin would be a more memorable video from the, that was one of her first, and going through the canals of Venice. That's pretty. I would say that's a more would stick out than this one, to be honest. But again, late 80s, terrible time for music, terrible. I can't even speak to number 7 because I mean I know the song, but the video I do not know.
Oh my gosh, this is a classic video.
Is
Talking
it?
Heads, Once in a Lifetime.
Is
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you do the little arm thing that he does in the video, people will know exactly what you're of our age. They'll know.
Yeah, David Byrne, a weird dude, isn't he? He is some weird crap.
And he was just on Saturday Night Live, and I believe he performed this right before all the craziness.
Really?
Yes, and fantastic performance on Saturday Night Live. You should check that out. Yeah, I love this song. And they're another band that I wasn't really into, but if they come on, because he has one of those voices where you could listen to him sing, and it's just distinctive and it's fantastic, and I could listen to him sing.
There are some great jams by them from the 80s. I always loved Wild Wild Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that song. So an interesting fact then that it was co-directed by Tony Basil of Mickey fame. We of course talked about in a previous show. So she helped coordinate this horrible weird things that he does. Okay, good to know. 6, honestly, I mean I know who Grace Jones is. I nope, no clue what Slave to Rhythm is, no clue what the video is. So I don't even need to talk about it.
I don't remember it.
No, I mean, I know who she is. I mean, she obviously hobnobbed with the Andy Warhols and the Duran Durans of the day, but she was just weird as crap. She had a song, though, about something about an apple. I don't know. I do know one song by her. I can't think of it. 5, again, we're getting into that later 80s stuff. Would you say Guns N' Roses' Welcome to the Jungle is a video from the 80s that stands out to you?
Yes, absolutely. Appetite for Destruction is one of, in my opinion, the top 10 rock albums of all time. And most of what Guns N' Roses came out with after Appetite is crap. But I love this video. I love that whole album. And this put them on the map. And
would you say that Axl led to the downfall of Guns N' Roses?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, he's crazy. And I don't like throwing that word around. I probably shouldn't have said that, but I don't think he's all there, and I don't think that he could be a jerk. I mean, he's got Eddie Van Halen syndrome. You look at Eddie Van Halen and what happened to Van Halen. You kick David Lee Roth out. You kick Sammy Hagar out.
Alex is the bigger problem than Eddie, but whatever.
It could be. Maybe it's Alex. But you lose David Lee Roth. You lose Sammy Hagar. You lose the guy from Extreme. And at some point, you got to say, okay, was it all those guys or was it you?
Yeah. Do you think, I don't know tons about Guns N' Roses. Was Axl a troubled person before he became a musician?
Yes.
So it was the combination then of having some issues and then fame and all the pressures and all that just sort of exploded. Because he seemed like he was living the life there. Supermodels like November Rain. I think Christy. No, he wasn't Christy Turlington. What is her name? Oh, I can see her.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's dating a Stephanie Seymour. Thank you. I know my supermodels of the late 80s and the early 90s. I don't know the music as well.
I went to a Guns N' Roses show in Indianapolis back in 2011, I think it was. Slash wasn't part of the band. And I walked in and there was someone ahead of us that had on a "We Want Slash" t-shirt. And security stopped him and said, "You can't wear that in here. Part of the agreement, the contract that Guns N' Roses signed was there could be no pro/Slash signs or shirts worn at the concert." Now, the
A little
security guard
petty.
could have been full of crap, but he made him take the shirt
Are
off.
you kidding? Oh,
No.
that's insane. They've since toured all
Yes.
together though.
Yeah. Yes. Not the original lineup. They're missing somebody. I can't remember who it is. But
They have Duff though. He was always my favorite. 'Cause
well, they
he would be on Howard Stern, and they were funny appearances. Because he was like stoned and stoned at the best. I don't even know, much worse. But then he'd always talk about like his financial portfolio and how much money he was putting. Like it was a strange dichotomy. Like he was definitely strung out on drugs, but obviously like super up on how to save money and invest. So I always thought that was
right.
interesting. Number 4 should be number 1. Aha, Take on Me. I mean, we've talked Aha before. You like to talk about the version of it where he's singing a more recent version where it's more of an acoustic version. He can't always hit the notes, and the ladies are in the audience are sobbing, weeping. It's just
Oh, it's hilarious. It's hilarious to watch. Yes, it was like each and every woman in the crowd weeping. They were acting like he was singing that song directly to them.
I'm trying to think of why the words would mean so much. Take on me, take me on. I'll be
No,
gone in a
it's
day or two.
Yeah.
It's him. It's not really the song. It's him.
Is he a dreamboat?
No.
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 Okay.
Nah. I don't think so. But the video was great, and it's still great. Like, it's still it would still be kind of groundbreaking if it was done today, I think.
Yes. Absolutely.
It was definitely what a video should aspire to be. It was so good. But yeah, I mean, I saw him in concert and I didn't cry, so there.
They didn't touch you the way they touched
really
others.
didn't, because I'm like, because once they do the one song, you're like, oh God, let's get out of here. And of course they don't do it till the very end. It's their encore, and you're like, oh Lord, you gotta listen to a whole concert of them.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. That's all I remember thinking. Oh, crap! I probably should have learned some of their other songs. 3 means nothing to me as well. Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation. Other videos of hers I remember much better. Nasty
Well, that
Boy, I
was-
like that one. Oh, Nasty
I
Boy.
believe, if I remember correctly, that was one of the videos that she did. That was it was like a Michael Jackson video.
Yeah, I'm remembering it now.
8 minutes long or something, and it was all dancing. And
It was a dystopian dance vision, in one which Janet leads a sexy paramilitary troop in their stylish, future-oozing attitude, razor-sharp choreography. I remember it. I do remember the troops and dressed up, and yeah. I mean, I liked her stuff. Back then. It was
didn't.
good.
I listen. It was catchy. I liked the music on the radio, but I just never had a lot of respect for acts that would perform in concert and didn't sing. You know what I mean? It was all we're much more focused on our dancing and it's lip syncing. I just have never been a person that's
she was one of those early ones that would wear the head.
Yeah, and they weren't.
Microphone, and
they weren't really singing.
Well, it's hard to dance like that and sing, because she was a good dancer for sure.
Yeah, I would rather just see someone sing. Now, when you're Paula Abdul and you can't sing,
please lip sync.
Yeah, I suppose that you have to focus your concert around the dancing. But Janet Jackson could sing. I don't know. That's just
she
me.
Had some good stuff back then.
Yeah.
Number 2 is a person that I actually have like a visceral reaction to. I loathe him, and I cannot tell you why, but I can't stand him. I'm gonna let you handle it, because I can't stand, and I don't know why.
I hate this song.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Do you hate him?
Peter
I mean, I
Gabriel.
don't hate him, but I hate his music. Just makes me want to vomit.
Peter Gabriel sledgehammer is what Terry is referring to, and it's really funny. I have talked to several people over the years when Peter Gabriel's name comes up, and they have that reaction.
Okay.
I hate Peter Gabriel, and
I don't hate him. His music just is. Like there's a reaction. Like I cannot listen to it.
I like Your Eyes. If you're going to give me a ballad, that's okay. What movie was that? What movie was that in? It was with John Cusack,
anything.
and he's John Cusack, who has apparently blocked everyone to
He's
the
a
right.
lib. He's a big
to
lib.
the right of Bernie Sanders on Twitter. I for some reason I looked up John Cusack on Twitter and I found out he blocked me. I was like, why?
Did he
Why the
really?
hell?
That's so
Yeah,
funny.
I was like, why would John Cusack block
What
me?
did you do? Like you harassed him?
I don't
Oh,
know.
that's
You must have some
funny.
sort of software that if you mention that you're on the right at all, it's like a blocked, automatic
Oh
block.
yeah, he's
It's like I've never,
terrible, which is
like I'm,
unfortunate. I like him
like
way
I'm,
better
yeah,
than I
yeah.
like Peter Gabriel.
But no, I don't like Peter Gabriel either.
Oh God, thank you. Nobody does. How does he have number two? The
I
video
don't
I'm
know
sure I didn't watch. It's
because it was
obviously like
groundbreaking.
there's the picture is like a train going around his head. I, hmm.
Yeah, it was
Eh.
visually impressive. And part of it too was the song wasn't that bad, but it was another one that radio stations and
I
MTV
think
just
that's
ran
probably
that
what
into
it
the
was.
ground.
Yeah. I don't like it when other people decide something needs to become a thing and then just pushes it. I've
Eh,
talked about it on other shows that like a couple of years ago. Like I was on like a big like, why are they pushing Margot Robbie on us? Why are they making her a thing? So I get on these things, and I think that's probably the case with Peter Gabriel. Like they were
mm.
like, okay, he's gonna be a thing because he was right. He was in Genesis, right? Am I
Yes.
thinking about the? So I don't know. Like, oh well, Phil Collins is gonna be a thing. Well, we're gonna make Peter Gabriel a bigger thing than Phil Collins, and so ugh. And I think they did it with like Don Henley too. Like ugh. Ugh, give me Glenn Fry any day of the week. I don't want to hear Don Henley's crap. Anyway,
Oh,
small
I'm
rant.
surprised Boys of Summer is not on this list.
Nah!
Oh, I loved Boys of Summer. Good song. Good song.
Ugh. I feel this, and I find with Don Henley singing with the Eagles, but on his own, I don't know.
Well, for me, for Boys of Summer, it's the guitar. The guitar is so awesome.
No, it's not. I hate it. I hate it. I can because it starts with the guitar, right?
Yep.
Oh no, no, no. Give me John Fogerty's. What is his song? I could be center field. Is that a song? Give me that.
Oh, there. Yeah.
You know that one. Do
Oh,
do
yeah.
do do do.
I played high school baseball and travel baseball, and when I was in high school, and there was this one ballpark that we would, it was a regular ballpark where we would play, and they would, as we're warming up, we'd get there an hour and 15 minutes early, and the press box would play their baseball themed music.
Oh
And
boy.
center field was always in that. So yeah, yeah.
That's funny because nowadays the songs, the gangster rap that they play before kids are warming up because my son played high school football a few seasons ago and
Mm.
be like, what is this? This is not this. Ugh. Yeah. Anyway, number one, I think it's deserving. Obviously, it was pretty epic video, Thriller by Michael Jackson, but I don't know if we're allowed to like Michael Jackson anymore. I ask my kids all the time, are we allowed to like him? Do we think he's bad? Did he do bad things to boys? What did he do? What didn't he do? But I guess all that aside, his video Thriller obviously was. I did see that on Friday Night Videos, and I remember that clearly. Yeah, coming home. Because, I had a little bit of a social life when I was 15, and I came home. Well, maybe even younger. But yeah, I can remember coming home, like from the movies or pizza or something, and like, hey, I'm going to stay up and watch Friday Night Videos. And that's where I saw Thriller. And he was
Yeah.
huge. He was massive. Because I remember when he went on tour around Thriller, and that was just like everybody at the school. Oh, I got to get tickets. Nah.
Yeah, it's just hard to separate Michael Jackson from all the stuff.
Yeah, I
To,
watched some of that documentary. I don't even know what it's called. Something.
Neverland, was it Neverland? Was that the name of
Yeah,
it?
something like that.
Yeah.
And it seems to really support that he had that there were some problems there, but you never know. Stuff I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. He was acquitted, right, when he was brought to trial.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's just I just can't look at his music the same.
But
So
we knew then. I mean, don't you remember when he would show up with like chimpanzees and weird crap? Like
well,
we
no,
knew he was
okay.
weird as hell.
That's fine. You're weird, but
Yeah,
then
but
when you
he'd show
start
up with like who was Webster? He'd show up with Webster and a monkey and right, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
Bubbles the chimp,
yeah, Bubbles the chimp.
and didn't he bring Webster to stuff? Do you remember
Yes,
Webster?
Macaulay Culkin, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And we
I
knew he was
haven't.
weird then, and he shows up with Brooke Shields. You're like, uh huh, right? Sure, she's dating you.
Yeah,
And I think we knew then that something was off.
yeah. So, and I don't even think this was his best video, but it was one of those things where it was like, well, it's Thriller. You just have to make it Thriller.
I mean, they still play that song quite a bit.
Yeah,
And that was number one. I mean, honestly, I think Aha should be number one because it stands the test of time, and they weren't accused of anything as far as I know. So that should be number one. But there's a ton of videos, obviously, but it's cool. You can get that little archive, whatever that person downloaded, and see all of the fabulous things from the 80s. And kids today, they don't realize what they missed out on.
you know what's amazing about this list is I wouldn't even call Guns N' Roses a hair metal band. No hair metal videos at all.
I mean, there's a lot of really epic videos. Like,
None of the Bon Jovis made the list, or
that's true because "Living on a Prayer" was a pretty. I mean, not that it was like groundbreaking, but flying around and even some of the stuff Motley Crue did, or "Hot for Teacher," Van Halen.
yeah, no Van
That's-
Halen. I don't know.
"Hot for Teacher" was a big video.
Yeah, well, and no Don Henley, Boys of Summer. Shocking.
I know that video, right? It was in black and white. I remember.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he did Dirty Laundry. Oh no. And you should look into. There's allegations against Don Henley. Allegations from a long time
Allegations.
ago. The
Oh.
Dirty Laundry is related to.
No Sean Cassidy. No,
His career did not stretch into the 80s. No.
well, that's the list.
That's
Thanks
it.
thanks you discover music.
My favorite site, You Discover Music. The first thing that came up when I said best videos of 1980s. But there's a million of them. But these are pretty good. I mean, they're not bad, but they're not. They don't cover like a breadth of things. Like, where's We Are the World?
Was that a good video?
No, that was not a good
I was gonna
video.
say they're just in the studio. No, if there's a video that isn't covered on this list, tweet us at Fingers Malloy and at Terry Christoph.
How about George? Speaking of George Harrison, got my mind set on you. That's an epic one. Not epic,
That's
but
another one
That's a
that they
funny
ran
one.
into the ground.
remember,
and-
like the fake guy gets up and starts doing flips
Yeah.
and twists. Of that.
yeah. And I love George Harrison, but that song's terrible. And the lyrics didn't put a lot of time.
No,
The lyrics on that
no,
one.
but it was a smash hit.
It was.
He had a
It's
bit
true.
of a resurgence in the late 80s with that and the Traveling
Yep.
Wilburys. Anyway, we can go on ad nauseum about these things, but we should probably wrap it up. Yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Like Finger said, if you have any ideas, we do hop on Twitter, so at Terry Christoph and at Fingers Malloy. I didn't even get into my Twitter story, but that'll have to wait for another time. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you think is a good topic. You could even email us. So I know my email's out there floating around if you want to email. I like getting emails about it. But of course, also go over to facebook.com/MarcoPolitics because we have a good time. There's been some hot topics over there lately. We got an interesting crowd and a few liberal trolls, which always keeps things fun. So come over there and check us out and like the page and get involved there. Thank you to Ricochet. We love Ricochet. So if you have not checked them out, go to ricochet.com. If you're a conservative, it's the place for polite, but not that polite, political conversation. It's much better than like Twitter. But it still can get a little crazy over there. So check them out. Thank you to BetterHelp. HELP.com. Of course, you go to betterhelp.com/smartgirl and get your 10% off your first month. So, if you need help, please, begging you, go get it. So we can all emerge from this nightmare healthier than when we went in, which is hopefully Had to put on my shorts today. They did not. It didn't go on nice. I'm not emerging the same person that I was when I went in, but we'll talk about that next time. But follow us on all the Facebooks and everything. Fingers Malloy, you have a website.
fingersmalloy.com. You can catch all my podcasts there. I'm a radio host in Ann Arbor on Wham Talk 1600 AM. I host the Snark Factor there. Also host the Enough Already podcast. We had Tony Katz on this week from Indianapolis, and syndicated radio host. He's Fox News favorite. So check that out over at fingersmalloy.com. And I'm the producer and regular on Tony's podcast, Eat, Drink, Smoke.
You're a busy man, Fingers Malloy, so I appreciate you making the time to be on this podcast. I appreciate everybody listening, and we will see you next time on the next Gen X Xish.